Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you have a great and wonderful day. And today, we're going to just show you on how NPR and at least one of the woke media outlets is just giving you information. It's giving you false information, not good information, and how you guys should probably tune in. Well, obviously to my YouTube channel because I try to report accurate information, and anybody else that is not Fox News or what have you, and go to more, people that actually do good reporting. Like, maybe Tim Pool, Dave Rubin, people like that will give you accurate news, or Christopher F. Rufo, which is another good one that I recommend. But I'm going to show you exactly on how corrupt and how inaccurate and how biased NPR is, because it does a lot of wonders to people. So here we go. Without further ado, we have this for the post-millennial. NPR's new CEO Katherine Maher, the number one challenge that we see is that the First Amendment in the United States.
The number one challenge here that we see and is, of course, the First Amendment in the United States is a fairly robust protection of rights. And that is a protection of rights both for platforms, which I actually think is very important, that platforms have those rights to be able to regulate what kind of content they want on their sites. But it also means that it is a little bit tricky to really address some of the real challenges of where does bad information come from, and sort of the influence peddlers who have made a real market economy around it.
So essentially, she wants to regulate the First Amendment, which is asinine and completely stupid in every single way. We have the First Amendment because that's one of our most powerful rights. That's hence why it is the First Amendment. It is number one, numero uno. So, again, that's the reason why. The reason why we have the Second Amendment is because to stop from a tyrannical government. So, we have here that a lady is advocating for the number one challenge that we see is the First Amendment in the United States, and that's not a problem. That is not an issue. That's not a... she does not like the First Amendment. So we have more here, obviously, from Christopher F. Rufo, going on to say that Katherine Maher says, Maher, whatever, says that she abandoned a free and open internet as the mission of Wikipedia because those principles represented a white male westernized construct. It did not end up living in the internationality of what openness can be. So we're going to do this.
The idea of free and open as some of our founding principles, sort of free and open source, coming from the idea of the open source community. Well, I have come to the opinion and the perspective that free and open was a way of looking at the world that was inherently limited relative to what we were trying to achieve. Free and open has the best of intentionality, but in the end, what free and open often ended up doing, and particularly in the case of Wikipedia, was really recapitulating many of the same power structures and dynamics that exist offline prior to the advent of the internet. And so what we ended up seeing was Wikipedia really rebuilt this idea of knowledge as a whole around what the Western canon. You see the exclusion of communities, of languages, because of the ways in which Wikipedia is based on reliable sources. The idea.
See, here's the problem that I have with this is that we're not actually diverting or excluding people from certain areas. Actually, I may believe that's the far left's job. I think that's what you're trying to do, because you're not trying to include anybody. You're making everything worse for everyone else. However, what I see is that you have to show proof. And again, I think, honestly, a lot of the minority people, a lot of blacks, a lot of Latinos or whatever, Chinese, etc., Asians in particular, because, we have every single Asian in here in our country, separate themselves. They make their own kind of little groups. Of course, it's not like they're necessarily racist. It's just they just make their own groups or exclude themselves from other groups, which I don't necessarily think that's too much of a problem in per se. Everybody has their own groups or people they want to hang out with. That's fine and all, but we're not excluding them. All right, that's not what's happening here. Not by law we are excluding them. That's not what's happening.
You have a written tradition and something that is particular to the idea of a written tradition, which is particular to some cultures and not to others. The ways in which we ascribe notability often really comes from sort of this white male westernized construct around who matters in societies and who is elevated and whose voices. And so some of these ideas of sort of this radical openness really did not end up with the intention, really did not end up living into the intentionality of what openness can be.
I don't know what she's getting at, because there is nobody that is dictating and who and where it can be, but that's what you guys are doing. You're actually projecting here. You are actually projecting the fact that you're the ones that are saying who can be elevated, who can speak, who's allowed to do this. I mean, look what you're doing to Donald Trump. Look what you guys are doing to any Republicans or anybody that goes against your narrative, against your regime. You're actually attacking them, silencing them, arresting them, etc. And that you're not allowing the free speech that you so-called claim. And you're on that part of the left. If you guys want more of what's going on here, we have NPR's new CEO who was called out by a whistleblower over pervasive left-wing bias, recently purchased $2.7 million AOC townhouse. So that's what's going on here. But again, I'm not going to go exactly why she purchased it, but we're going to go over, we'll have everything seen here for you guys. So what we have here, more from Christopher F. Rufo, it says Katherine Maher doesn't just want to stamp out bad information on the internet. She wants to replace it with good information, i.e. left-wing narratives, and force the public to sit within that good information as a collective. Big Sister has arrived.
So I think much of what we talk about with misinformation is really about how do we stamp out bad information. And I'm really interested in how do we actually immerse ourselves in good information, and what are the ways in which our systems and policies and structures can focus on how they have an obligation to each of us as citizens to be able to sit within that good information, and what that good information can do as sort of like fertilizer, nutrients for all of us to be able to be as successful as possible, both individually and as a collective community.
We're going to go exactly what she means by this, too, because he says left-wing narratives and force the public to sit within that good information as a collective. Now, you guys can say, well, that couldn't be true. She probably just means, something else. Well, we're going to go over that so I can confirm to you that's exactly what she means, because we have this here again. Katherine Maher Wikipedia is biased because it is famously written by men, privileged European models of reference to the written word, and includes women, non-binary, and non-gender conforming individuals. She is woke GPT, so that's what she goes on to say here. Again, it doesn't exclude women at all from there, and it probably exclude these because these are not real people. These are not things that happen. Of course, I made my stream a while yesterday about the whole situation, and we went down and discovered that, and that's just the reality. These things are not real, and it doesn't exclude women by any stretch of the imagination. But of course, this is what you get from a woke animal. So, and then we have more from Colin Rugg saying NPR editor and whistleblower Yuri Berliner has resigned from NPR, blasts their new CEO Katherine Maher on his way out. Berliner was serving a 5-day suspension after calling out the extreme liberal bias at NPR. I am resigning from NPR, a great American institution where I have worked for 25 years. I will support calls to defund NPR. I respect the integrity of my colleagues and wish for NPR to thrive and do important journalism, but I cannot work in a newsroom where I am disparaged by a new CEO whose divisive views confirm the very problems at NPR I cited in my Free Press essay. Goes on to say, here are the top New York Times reader picks on the NPR scandal. Katherine Maher is rapidly losing support on the left. The problem with NPR is not liberal bias, but is rather unrelenting focus on identity politics and progressive buzzwords, pregnant people, Latinx, etc. I also don't like the emoting of the news practiced by far too many NPR hosts. Give it us straight and without gasp or tears or other commentary. I am proudly liberal and grew up listening to NPR, but now find it to be completely unbalanced in its reporting, particularly after the murder of George Floyd. So many stories they produce are run through the lens of identity politics. It's no longer a news organization, but rather a social justice advocacy organization that uses stories to advance policy agendas. Shame on NPR. I am a longtime Democrat and NPR listener, and Berliner is right. NPR has changed mightily, and it is virtually unlistenable now. Bravo to Berliner for calling out what many of us have noticed on our own. Thank goodness for podcasts, so I have other choices while driving. I wonder how many NYT readers will actually take the time to read the piece Berliner wrote. It is spot on. I used to love NPR. I still listen to it almost daily, and it is not what it used to be. So yeah, even the far left are not with the support of NPR. That's how garbage it is. And again, we have more from Christopher F. Rufo. The new CEO of NPR is a part of raising rising cohort of affluent left-wing female managers to dominate HR and DEI. They are the matriarchs of the American Longhouse. They value censorship over liberty, censorship over debate, and leadership over truth. And it says the new CEO of NPR is then his left-wing ideologue who supports wide-scale censorship and considers the First Amendment an impediment to her campaign to sanitize the world of wrong opinions. Maher is no aberration. She is part of a rising cohort of affluent left-wing female managers who dominate the departments of university administration, etc., and what I've just said. Each social gambit is designed for smothering the institution and ideology. Maher says that she knows that hysteric white woman voice, she has done it, and while she might not be proud of it, she is aware that she has a big fat privileged past. She is willing to do what it takes to move the dictates of conventional left-wing opinion into a position of domination. So that's what's going on here, and we go back to here to where she says doesn't want to stamp out bad information on the internet. She just wants to replace it with good information, which means, again, her left-wing narratives. This is no surprise here for coming from a person like this. So again, this is where we are with NPR. The far left, even the Democrats, are not even liking or even trust NPR anymore. That's how bad it's gotten. And now they introduce a new, very woke CEO, Katherine Maher, who again is just as left, if not potentially worse, than the CEO that actually resigned. So again, NPR is going to fall down. I'm going to assume it's going to go out of business because this person is going to drive it into the mud. And of course, don't go and watch this. Don't go and listen to these people because obviously it's just going to be very far left, very biased drivel that you don't need to have. I'm not trying to be biased. I was trying to give her the benefit of the doubt. But of course, as we can see here, it doesn't seem like she's doing any benefit of the doubt at all. She's doing the exact opposite with the words that she's saying. So, be as it may, that's just the reality that we're living in. Alright guys, that's it for the video. Like, subscribe, share. As always, take care, man.
I'm disgusted by what I see in public. Even people closest to us can't be trusted. Cause it's algorithmic disease, the social media.